tattoos, and art. And if you are looking for either one of those two things and you're in the Tampa Bay area, please go to Buckshot Art and Tattoos and visit David. You can also visit Buckshot there as well, who also does art and tattoos. Make sure you guys please go check them out. They are great supporters of this show, and I'm very grateful for them.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Forge 20's Thrones. I'm your DM, Hunter, accompanied once again by my best friend, Zach.
Howdy.
And we are here to present you with another fantastic episode and continuation of our tale. And I thank you for being here to share with us this experience. Zach, is there any housekeeping, any announcements you need to make? Anything at all?
All good. I'll do that in post.
All right, my brother. Then, last we left off, we had seen Daedallus and Alastair defeat a troll that had begun assaulting a windmill outside of the town of Findown, nestled on a large hill. There was a priestess here of the goddess of luck. This priestess's name was Adabra. She was in great danger, and thanks to some quick thinking and even quicker blades, the heroes managed to defeat the troll and move on to save Lady Adabra from falling from the windmill thanks to a boulder that had collapsed a large portion of the supports that were attached to it. The party was greeted by a few of the townsfolk that had gathered arms and intended to meet the troll in combat, but by the time they showed up, the troll had been defeated by the two adventurers. The town's maester had invited them to come and speak with him in private, and he requested their aid. He requested that Alastair and Daedallus both lend them a bit of their time. In exchange, they would give them gold, they would give them armor, and they would give them a place to stay, free of charge, if they would just help get the town to defend themselves somewhat in case the dragon that has come to the Storm Coast decides to maybe pay Findown a visit. After some deliberation, Daedalus and Alastair agreed. They will give them some aid, but they do intend on making their way to Waterdeep at some point and meeting with the Lord's Alliance. But first, the two have, after a long day's work, have decided to maybe go get some drinks. And so that is where we're going to pick up. We're going to pick up right where we were last time. I believe that Alastair had just asked Daedalus if they wanted to go get drinks, and Daedalus agreed, yes?
I believe so, yes. One of us asked one of the other.
That works. All right, so we're going to pick up from there. So we're going to say we're already heading towards the town inn. So inside the town of Findown, there is, near the center of this town, a somewhat large well, and slightly to the northeast of this rather traditional well is a now 2 stories high tavern. This tavern, wooden in its construction mostly, has a bit of cobblestone here and there for supports, some accents here and there. Traditional colors, just the natural wood look to it. Other than that, the only discerning feature that you can really see from the outside is that it sits on a small hill. Daedalus and Alastair are approaching down the main street of Findown. As they approach, they can see that the Stonehill Inn is somewhat busy. It's not quite evening yet, but later afternoon. You can smell the aroma of ale. Honey in its nature, and you can smell something fresh and hot being cooked. It smells almost like some kind of chicken that's being fried or perhaps grilled currently. It is most succulent to your senses. Alastair, Daedalus is walking beside you, and you two are approaching the Stonehill Inn. You can see the sign. It says Stonehill Inn, vacancy.
So Alastair is going to walk up towards the inn and is going to hold the front door open for Daedalus and letting him go inside first.
Daedalus gives him a little courteous nod as he sees him have a small thoughtful gesture for Daedalus. He holds the door open. Daedalus nods, walks in, and as he walks in, Daedalus takes in the scenery. I assume Alastair follows in.
Yes.
As Alastair follows in, two of them can see in front of them a rather traditional look to this bar. You see traditional wood countertop going a long ways, about 20 feet long. Behind the counter, a large, it looks to be half-orc man, greenish tinge to his skin. He's got that signature sort of lower fangs protruding from his, a bit of an underbite. He has pierced ears, and he has dreaded hair that is a chestnut brown in color. And you see him with his apron on. You see him sliding drinks very dexterously across the table to the denizens and patrons of the bar. Beyond this, you see many different seats. You see across the center of the inn is probably about 10 to 20 sets of tables. And on either side, to the north and southern sides of the inn, is rows of booths for people to be seated in. The tables have a good amount of people at them. The booths have some people at them. It's mostly individuals looking to have a quiet, secluded place. To the left side of the inn is a set of stairs that lead up to where obviously there is the quarters of those who choose to come here and rent a room from the Stonehill Inn. Now, Daedalus looks around and you can see that he's kind of looking at less so the scenery and more so the people. Kind of scanning, looking around to see if there's anybody of note. Daedalus can't quite see anybody that is necessarily out of place. Everyone looks like they intend to be here for sure. However, he does notice that there is maybe one or two people who look a little uneasy right now. And by uneasy, I mean drunk. Quite drunk. Over on the northeastern side of the far booths, there is two individuals. They can't quite tell what race they are. They are face down, slumped into the table, passed out. Other than that, nothing discernible or notable. Daedalus turns to Alastair. He just kind of gives him a raise of his eyebrow, and he points towards the bar and the countertop. Let's drink.
Alastair follows as they find two seats next to one another in the bar, and Alastair waves over to the half-orc bartender.
The bartender looks up, gives a small squint of his eyes, and you see that he's got a small scar just beneath his right eye that kind of goes just down, just next to his the right side of his lip. He walks over. Greetings.
Hello.
Haven't seen you two before.
Yep, just passing through.
How can I help you? Welcome to the Stonehill Inn.
Thank you. Curious as to what you'd recommend. I've never drank in a public establishment like this before, so maybe you'd know what's best.
The man, rather the orc, half-orc, takes a lean back and crosses his arms and takes his left hand, his pointer finger and his thumb begin stroking his chin. He looks at you for a moment, scans you up and down, looks at Daedalus, looks him up and down for a moment. I think I have something that could work for the both of you. How is Baldurian spiced wine?
Alastair turns to Daedalus. Want to give it a shot?
Daedalus looks at Alastair, looks at the barkeep. How strong is it? And the barkeep laughs. Haha, okay, I see. You're not looking for a great taste, you're looking for a good time. Daedalus looks at Alastair and looks at the barkeep. Yes, we've had a long journey. The barkeep takes a moment. Very well. Turns around. Takes a moment, but you see him sorting through all sorts of spirits, ales, wines. When finally he grabs something, you see something it is so dark in its color. It's not quite black, but it's almost like a graphite color. You see as he picks it up, he swirls it for a moment, places it down on the table with two shot glasses. He looks at the both of you. This is good stuff. This will give you a good time, but a little pricey. Now, first-timers, I could give you a discount. How about 2 gold will get you the bottle, or we could do 5 silver a shot. This stuff is called the Touch of Merkel.
Alastair's gonna kind of stroke his chin for a second, kind of squinting his eyes, thinking about what he wants to do. I'm not sure if this is an open space for bartering, but what if we did 1 gold, 5 silver for the bottle?
The barkeep looks at you. Normally it's not a place for bartering, but you're talking to the right man. 1 gold, 5 silver sounds good. What are your names, gentlemen? He starts pouring us 2 glasses.
My name's Alastair Darkheart. It is a pleasure to meet you. What is your name?
He looks at you. My name is Krieg Longtooth. And yours, Dragonborn? He turns and looks at Daedallus. Daedalus looks at him and then at the drink that he's freshly poured for him. Daedalus reaches across, grabs his glass. My name is Daedalus. He sets the bottle closer to us, slides it a little bit forth. If you need anything else, food, more drinks, feel free to just reach out to me. Call me over.
Thank you, Krieg. I appreciate it.
He gives a courteous nod. He returns it.
going to leave him a tip of 5 copper, by the way.
Very nice. As you leave the tip and you slide the rest of the currency to the across towards where he will eventually see when he comes back this way on the bar counter, you see Krieg starts attending to other patrons on the other end who've been calling after him and trying to get his attention, but was busy dealing with us as indecisive patrons. Daedalus grabs his glass. Every good drink requires a good toast, don't you think? And he looks at Alastair.
I'd agree. To what then?
Daedalus lets out a sigh. He thinks. You see him look up towards the ceiling, looking for a thought. To new beginnings.
To new beginnings. As he clanks his glass with Daedalus and takes a drink.
Immediately as this graphite-colored liquid, it feels almost milky in its texture as it hits your palate. You swash it down your gullet as you feel this liquid coat the inside of your esophagus and reach down into your belly. Not a heat kind of sensation, but a freezing cold shoots throughout your body, a very unique sensation, like death's touch. But as it resonates throughout you, it feels quite nice, very relaxing, almost peaceful in a way. However, the effects are strong. As soon as you get that drink, you immediately feel almost this rush of, I don't want to say endorphins or adrenaline, but you do get this rush of, man, that's some good stuff. Your senses are heightened almost. Daedalus, you see, slams his drink, puts the glass down. His eyes widen for a moment. Oh, that is delightful.
I would quite agree. That is exquisite. Oh.
Another. Daedalus reaches over and grabs the bottle and starts pouring 2 more immediately. He looks at you. Another. And then he slams that one.
Alastair's going to grab the bottle and pour one himself as he kind of looks at Daedalus as he's downing his drink. Daedalus, I have a question, if you don't mind.
Daedalus slams his drink, and as he slams his drink, he's listening, but you see he blinks once, twice, very slow, very hard. His eyes almost wince, like he just got slapped in the face. He starts to cough. And I have an answer, hopefully. Oh, the second shot hits a lot harder than the first. You see him grab onto the countertop.
Alastair raises an eyebrow and downs his drink.
As you're kind of taking in the moment of, it can't really hit that hard. You down the second shot of Death's Touch. And this time it feels a little bit more like an embrace, I would say. This time when the milky spirit hits your palate, this time that cold, and it was almost like a pleasant minty feel, and it resonated throughout, is now this almost freezing-like texture and feeling throughout you. You feel it in your lungs. It's like running in freezing temperatures. Your lungs begin to burn almost. Your insides feel like they are on fire, but in a different way, like frostbite. As this happens, at the same time, your head begins to spin, and you get a bit of tunnel vision. You blink once, you blink twice, just like Daedalus. You regain your senses, but man, you are on the verge of being put on your ass.
You see as it's like almost immediate, the look on his face. He just looks fucking inebriated. You all know what an inebriated individual looks like, so I don't even need to describe that. Like, I'm talking about, like, on the verge of blacking out at this point. Alastair's, like, really intrusive thoughts start to get to him, and he asks Daedallus the question that he brought up. Where'd you get a name like Daedalus? I've never heard a name like that before. He just starts chuckling to himself a little bit.
Daedalus, upon hearing this question, he looks away and he puts a hand to the back of his neck for a moment. He blinks again, and you can tell he's almost like rolling his eyes that way, but he's inebriated, so he's kind of got his eyes half open, half closed, and looks at you. That is a question I haven't had to answer. I don't think ever. Of course, like anyone else, it was given to me. I know not where it comes from, but it is catchy, is it not?
It's pretty catchy. Not gonna lie to you.
Daedalus looks at you, and then looks at the bottle of Death's Touch. Another, he says, this time a little slurred. And he pours another glass for both of you. But before he drinks it, let me ask you a question then, Darkheart.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Back at the manor, before we left, and as he says this, he takes a drink of his shot. You see him kind of shake his body out. He gets the shivers, and his whole body shakes. Back at the manor, back at the manor, you took a moment. That painting in your family's den, you all looked happy together. Tell me about them. What was it like? What were they like?
You see Alastair has this, like, really solemn-looking smile on his face. My dad... he was just the very thing that I imagine when I think of a hero. I've always looked up to him, even when I was younger. And I just always wanted to be like him, go out, adventure, get some great accolades, drink some ale, come home, rule Darkvale, justly. Who wouldn't want something like that? He smiles. So I always looked up to my dad for giving me goals and aspirations. My mother. Most gentle touch that you could ever feel. When I was sad, and little did I know the sadness could go down into a deeper abyss than that. But when I was less sad, she always knew the right words, the right things to say and do with me to make me feel better. A perfect mother. I couldn't ask for any better than my sister. I loved giving her shit. There's nothing like being an instigator. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not sure if you had any siblings growing up, but the camaraderie between us, it couldn't be duplicated. I think about them every day, and that just seeing the painting just reminded me of the good times and how I need to chase those instead of wallowing in the bad, and I think that's why I came with you, Daedalus. I think in a way, you saved me. And then he drinks.
As you take your third downing of Merkel's touch, your eyes go from having tunnel vision to no vision. Your eyes completely shut. You begin to lose your center of gravity, almost leaning out of your chair when you feel a hand, sturdy, reach your back and lean you forward. Whoa, Darkheart! And Daedalus leans you forward back to the table, but as he does so, you also feel that freezing touch throughout your body. It now begins to move to your head, and you are getting not only this sense of like loss of gravity, inebriation, nausea, but you have the worst case of what is it called when you eat too much ice cream and your head hurts?
Oh, like a brain
How do I
freeze?
not know this? Yes, you have the worst case of brain freeze as well. Like, it is so bad, it is throbbing. You are extremely intoxicated.
Can you give me a bucket? Daedallus, bucket. Bucket.
A what? A bucket?
Bucket.
Bucket? Bucket! You hear Daedalus shout, and he leans over to the bar counter. Bucket! Bucket! The barkeep comes rushing over. You see him with this already kind of like half-filled chum bucket as he brings it over to the counter to you.
Alastair quickly grabs it, and just digs his face into it. All you hear is... and it just sounds like it's projectile vomiting. Like, if you were to smell what it smells like, it actually just still smells like the Merkel's Touch drink, but like with a tinge of an acidic smell to it.
As Alistair starts to projectile vomit like a geyser into this body of chummy bucket water, you feel like patting on your back. There, Alistair, there, let it out. The barkeep kind of stands there. I told you it was strong. And he walks away, kind of laughing and chuckling again. Daedalus looks at Alistair as he's still retching, and as Alistair's retching, Daedalus is patting his back. Daedalus is going to kind of just make a comment. I think, in the end, I didn't save you. They did. All I did was just push you in the right direction. By being who they were, raising you the way they did, loving you the way they did, they gave you the courage to save yourself, to take the opportunity, with some discretions, indignities, I would suppose. But we won't talk about us whipping each other's ass.
You see Alastair raise his head. His eye that you can see is completely like bloodshot red with a tinge of yellow to it. It twitches. You're a good guy, Daedalus. He like wraps his arm around Daedalus's neck and gives him like a hug. You're a good. He goes right back for the bucket.
Daedalus just kind of looks. He looks over at the Death's Touch. You see him. There's almost like a thought of temptation. Like, I could drink another shot. It is awfully tasty. He goes to reach, and then he pulls his hand away. No. I can't. He puts the cork on the bottle, and then he slides it to the side with the two glasses. Not putting it quite away, but just away from his vision so he's not tempted to try another shot. I'll learn from your mistakes. That's enough for now. Are you all right? At this point, you're starting to kind of get your bearings back. You've rejected enough of the toxicity from your body.
I'm all right. Just a little lightheaded from the vomiting and the drinking, but I think some food might do us good. Do you want to split something?
Daedalus looks at Alistair, almost like he's insulted. I don't know about half-elves and their appetite, but Dragonborn can eat for 2 or 3 men. But I'm willing to pay for your share if you want.
Alistair's eyes widen. So that's how you get as big as you do. Do you eat a lot? I mean, is there anything else you do? I mean, I'm kind of jealous. You see how scrawny I am. He shows his arm, and this thing is like stick. It's not like a stick. It's like a thick, like, it's very thin. He's very lanky. There's like nigh almost no meat on his bones.
You're gaunt almost throughout. Not quite skeletal, but very thin. As you say this, Daedalus kind of smirks, but pushes it away, and then he says, like our dragon kin of much larger size, we must eat in order to maintain this size. As far as other things or abilities this predisposition gives us, we can, just like our dragon cousins, breathe the elements. You understand? Daedalus raises an eyebrow.
Like a dragon, I guess that would make sense.
Yes, just like a dragon. Some dragonborns breathe fire, some breathe lightning, some breathe noxious gas, all manner of things.
I see. Do you train a lot? Let me ask you, because it looks like you do. And to be honest, I haven't trained much in 4 years. I could probably polish up on my fighting, considering how the last 2 fights went. Not so good in my favor. Alastair is now going to reach into his bag and pull out that flask of Dark Veil Divine and take a very small swig of it, since he knows it's a little, let's say, it's got less alcohol in it than the Death's Touch.
It's a little less volatile. Daedallus nods. Training is all I know. When I'm not traveling, when I'm not eating, when I'm not sleeping, or hunting for something to eat, I'm training. It is all I have, really. I'm not gifted with magic like you are.
That's true, but you're very physically gifted, Daedalus, I can tell. And to be honest, I feel like if I'm going to survive in this world, I'm going to need help with that. My father trained me in the art of the blade when I was younger, but I never got to fully master it because of his passing. I actually have a favor I'd like to ask you, if you don't mind.
You've already been asking me many things. Don't stop now. Daedalus chuckles after he says that.
Well, do you think that you could teach me the art of the blade?
Oh, I can't teach you to fight like a noble. Not like your father did. But the basics of what he taught you will still be relevant. I could teach you to fight, but you would be fighting a bit more diversely, I'll say. There are times when things like honor, nobility, they do not matter in a fight. What matters is survival. You understand?
I do.
And very well. I will teach you what I know. But it will not be easy.
Nothing in life ever is, Daedalus. As Alastair now pouring another glass of Death's Touch. He's going to down this one now.
Daedalus stops you before you drink it.
Oh, he already went.
As you pour yourself. Well, you got to pour him one.
Oh.
What are you doing? Daedalus watches you as you down that one. Terrible manners. And then he pours himself one. You down that one of Death's Touch, and it's like a minty little kiss to your senses. It's like you've had a little bit of, what's that word? Oh, what's that fancy drink that numbs the tongue? Kava. It's like a little bit of kava, a little minty, a little numb on the tongue. Very nice, very crisp. As you drink that, and Daedalus makes his comment and then slams his drink. Ah, yes. And you see a little bit of smoke come out from his nostrils as he exhales.
Daedalus, let me make that up to you. I'm sorry. I'm such an asshole. He pours not Death's Touch, but a 1.5 ounces worth of Dark Veil Divine. As now Alastair's running a little low, but I'm sorry. Please consider this an apology. And Alastair grabs his glass and raises it.
Daedalus raises the glass. A toast.
This time I'll decide what it's on. Alastair thinks for a second. To being better. And Alastair clinks his glass with Daedalus's.
Being better. Lower save. Not too much lower, though. We succeeded last time, but it's getting higher and higher each shot. Yep. So,
I'm just blacked out. We'll just say I'm blacked out.
So as soon as you say to being better and you take your sip, Daedalus says to being better. And then he slams his drink. As he sets his glass down, he barely passes, but as he sets his glass down, you see him grab the tabletop to kind of steady himself. And as he does this, he looks over to you, and you're mid-falling backwards, and you are skadoom on your back, laying out, looking up at the ceiling. Everything is spinning. Daedalus looks down. It looks like dark hearts and half-elves can't hold their liquor. He starts packing up his bottle of Death's or Merkel's touch. He reaches over to the little glass of dark veil to find that the two of you had left. He sips down what's left of yours. He looks down at you, and you see his head kind of peek over into your vision. He leans over you, and you can see his head, but it's still kind of spinning side to side to side. And he looks over, and you see Daedalus' bright green eyes looking and gazing into yours. He looks down from his chair. He's smirking, and he says to you, "Do you need help, Darkheart?"
Alastair's just staring at the ceiling and then slowly just kind of closes his eye. And you just hear him start fucking snoring. He's drank so much to the point he's just blacked out completely.
Daedalus laughs. He calls over for the barkeep. They have a brief exchange. He arranges the room, explains who they are, where they're from, the Maester's summonings, sending them here. Barkeep waves it off, points upstairs, hands Daedalus a key to the matching room number. You see him point again to a certain room. He gives him the number 8 on his 2 hands with his fingers. Daedalus then looks down at Darkheart, laughs again, the barkeep joining him this time. Daedalus hops down from his stool, and he reaches down and picks up Alastair and throws him over his shoulders. Fireman's carry, as he's got Alastair over his shoulders, and in one hand, he's got the bottle of Merkel's Touch, and in the other hand, he has both of their bags, as he begins walking and trudging up the stairs. Alastair, as you lose consciousness, as you know, you kind of enter this state of slumber, and as your body eventually enters REM sleep, you begin to have these dreams, apparitions, brief images, moments even, of your past and of things that have come into your life and gone. You remember your childhood, you remember training with your father, your rapier versus his rapier. He's teaching you how to fence properly, how to engage in combat. You remember late nights with your mother, sitting in the room with her when you couldn't sleep, talking with her about your fears and what was on your mind. And you see moments of you chastising your sister, making her laugh, teasing her. The two of you giggling and having a wonderful childhood together. All of a sudden, the vision breaks for a moment to red. You see bloodied hands, your hands. You see a burning tree. You see a family painting, smiling, happy. Then you see it covered in dust, and only one face remains clean and shown, yours. But no longer a happy face that was once painted there, no, now something full of sorrow and despair. It flashes again. You see your mother, your father. They scream as you see the shot of your father. "Alastair, no!" he screams. You hear your mother, "Please stop, please!" And you hear the anguished cry of your sister. "Stop!" You hear this, or not hear this, you see this vision, this nightmare, this images of happy memories now being tainted, being almost burned into your mind in a bittersweet remembrance of what they once were and what has become of them. And you hear the cries, "Alastair, no. Please stop. Stop. Stop." And then silence. Your eye, the one good eye, your one that, opens, shoots open. You would take a deep breath, and you shoot out of bed in a cold sweat.
Alastair in this moment is just kind of breathing heavily. His eye kind of darting around the room, trying to gauge his surroundings. Finally kind of recollecting and realizing where he's at. That initial look of worry and fear that was embroidered upon his face kind of fades into something a little more neutral, as if he's trying to hold back his emotions in a way. While he looks around, what does he see in the room?
As you look around and you're trying to kind of stuff down your reaction to what you just saw, you look forward and you see the door to the room. You see a small dresser. You see your belongings have been set upon this dresser, and on the other side of said dresser, you see Daedalus' belongings. The Daedalus' have been kind of unpacked. You can see whatever he was wearing from the day, his really messed up armor that is kind of just haphazardly thrown together, links of chainmail that what is left of it is just kind of haphazardly thrown up against the dresser, and clean clothes must have been plucked out of his sack, his sack, lol, everybody laugh, his knapsack. And so you see that Daedalus' stuff, he's just kind of unkempt. You get this sense of like, oh, this guy doesn't really care about a cleanly area right now, or house. This is just kind of how he takes care of things. He's just doing what is necessary. As you observe the dresser, you look to the right, you see a small sort of bathing room, and you look to the right to see another twin bed. You don't see anybody there, and you look to your right again, you see one, it's not quite glass, it's like a paneled glass door with interlacings of wood every so often, kind of like a lattice board. As you look through the glass, it's kind of frosted, you do see a small candlelight next to a table and two chairs, and sitting at one of the chairs is what looks to be, through this fogged up glass, a golden dragonborn, sitting observing the quiet town of Fandalin alone. He does not know, or it does not seem that he knows, what just happened. You were alone.
Alastair's going to breathe a sigh of relief in this moment, and then trot out of bed and head towards that fogged glass-paneled door and open it.
As you open the door, you see a balcony that overlooks the center of town. You can see from here the Lion Shield Caster. You see a place called, what was it again? You see a place called Botfizzles. You also see a shrine, maybe a block or two away. To equate it to real-world measurements, we'll say about a block or two away, you see a shrine of some form with some heraldry. It's hard to make out in the darkened Fandalin streets. The town square, though, the center where the well is, very well lit with sconces, torches, lanterns. You see Daedalus sits at the table. On the far side, the closer side to you, the chair sits empty. Daedalus is looking out on the town and looking out to the night sky. You see that the moon is in a crescent shape tonight, and you see there are no clouds. It is a pure, clear night sky, all the stars visible to the naked eye. Daedalus turns as you walk out, and Daedalus greets you. You finally decided to join the living again.
A little bit too much of that death's touch, my friend.
Well, they always say Merkel can be quite the bitch.
That's
it is good that you are
true.
awake, though. What were you saying? I apologize.
I was saying that was definitely true.
Last call was not that long ago. Some denizens are still here, but they're rounding up their drinks and finishing.
How long was I out for?
A few hours. I'd say it's not shortly past midnight now, as he looks up at the night sky.
Mine hells, I fucking blacked out, didn't I? Ugh.
Yes, you are a bit of a lightweight, we'll call it.
Yeah, lightweight, schmightweight. Do we have any more of that Merkel's touch or what?
We do have more of that Merkel's touch, but in the spirit of, as we said before, new beginnings, had something else that I could share with you.
And what would that be?
He motions for you to take a seat.
He does so.
As you seat yourself, Daedalus kind of as you sit down, you kind of see what Daedalus is wearing. He's in very basic commoner clothes. He's got a graphite, dark gray, kind of sort of long sleeve top, almost like a tunic. And he's got a basic cloth. I would say his pants are almost I would say they're not quite the same shade of gray. They're darker, pretty much black pants, and you can see he's wearing some kind of like loafer-esque footwear. He's very relaxed currently. You've not seen him in anything like this, at least in your travels. He was pretty much always armored up. Daedallus looks at you. In my travels, before I came to the Vale and found you, before I was given the information about the Lord's Alliance request to find you, I made a friend or two, and in exchange for helping them, they gave me this. You see him pull out a small, what looks to be tightly wrapped paper. And as you look at this white wrapped paper, you can see it's a bright green color on the inside with flakes of purple and almost this like crystal dust on this sort of leafy material. Take a whiff. Go on. And he hands it out towards Alastair.
Alastair takes what appears to be a cigarette and just gives it a nice little sniff. What does it smell like?
You get a very citrusy, earthy aromas. Citrus and earthy aromas. Yes, that's the scent you get from it. Almost like an orange.
Oh, this smells amazing. Where did you say you got this? You got this on your travels?
Yes, there was a shire, and they had a small problem with wargs. I helped, and in return, I was given some gold, and that gold is what funded me getting to the Vale. But this was the enlightening part of the experience. This is what they called the Halfling's Leaf.
Halfling's Leaf?
It is a thought-provoking substance. I found it to be quite relaxing, especially on eventful days and nights like these. And I thought, given our current situation, and given that you graciously bought us the bottle of Merkel's Touch, I would share this with you. What do you think?
I'm down to try anything once, my friend.
Daedallus kind of nods. He smiles. Good. Well, let's light this joint. He brings it to his lips. And for a moment, you see him purse his lips. You're almost expectant of seeing some sort of fire breath of some form. But instead, Daedallus reaches into a pocket and with a swish and flick, strikes a match, brings it to the end of this papered cigarette, this rolled halfling's leaf. See him take a deep breath. He releases. As he releases, you see this sense of calm and relax take over him. He almost slouches into his seat. He's much less tense than he's ever been, you see. He takes another. Sinks further into his seat. You hear him let out a deep sigh. Oh, that is good. It has been much, much too long since I have shared this with someone here.
Alastair takes it.
Be careful.
Alright. And Alastair moves it closer, and as he's like slowly moving it closer to his mouth, he asks Daedalus a question. Daedalus, you said that your kind can breathe the elements. I noticed here you didn't breathe fire. You ought to breathe something then, right? I'm curious to what that might be. And he takes a hit of the cigarette, exhales.
As you take your hits of this new substance to you, you get the same feeling that you exhibited in Daedalus's physical behavior. You feel this sense of calm and ease come over your body, an aura almost of warmth. You feel relaxed. You begin to feel quite comfortable in the seat. And the slight breeze on the air feels excellent. As you ask your question and take your hits, Daedalus looks away into the distance. He ponders for a moment. You see him tilt his head, purse his lips as if he's thinking. I do breathe fire. Not anymore. It's not something I've done in a long time.
Is it because you can't do it anymore? Is it because you don't want to do it anymore.
As you ask this question, Daedallus reaches over and takes the halfling's leaf from you and takes a few hits of his own before he answers. Almost as if he's biding time before he has to give you his next answer. It's something I choose not to do anymore. The last time I did that, people I cared about were hurt. That was a long time ago.
Places a hand on the back of his shoulder. I'm sorry to hear that, Daedalus.
It is fine. It is what it is what I always say. There's nothing I can do to change it, but I can prevent it happening to others in the future. Let me ask you then, Alastair, as he passes the halfling's leaf to him. You see you're about halfway on this rolled paper at this point. What was it like before the incident? The Veil. Dark Veil was, from what I gathered, well on its way to joining the Lord's Alliance before your family met an untimely fate.
That's true. It was a very rapidly growing city. My father invited a lot of the noble houses over. We would have dinner, meet their family. My father was a networking man. He knew what he would have to do to make relationships, especially with ones with the Lord's Alliance that he was slowly trying to build. And that seemingly crumbled overnight.
You see Daedalus takes in your words. He thinks on them. Your father had aspirations for the Veil to become members of the Lord's Alliance. Do you still wish this to be so?
I think it would be beneficial for my people. But I don't know if they would want to hear what I have to say. I'm, quite frankly, to be honest, nervous to be heading to Waterdeep to prove my innocence. People will make their assumptions and they'll judge me just based on what they think they know, you know?
A fact I am very well aware of. People do like to judge a book by its cover. People do like to make assumptions about one, and their past, and their intentions.
As Alastair takes a hit of the halfling's leaf and passes it back to Daedalus. I just kind of miss how it was, and I want it back. And I feel like the only way is going there to prove my innocence. And Daedalus, I commend you for being one of the main factors of me leaving that wretched manor to go do this. I think my father would be proud.
I'm sure somewhere out there, beyond the veil of life, in the next step he is watching and quite proud of the oath you've taken and the quest you've put yourself on. Let me ask you, Alastair, forgive me if I bring up painful memories, but I must ask. Do you remember anything in the days, weeks, months leading up to the incident? Do you remember anything that could be a clue or a lead on why this happened to you, to your family? I know before when we talked about it, we had merely just met and still we are only a few days companions, but I must ask again. Is there anything that you remember?
Alastair kind of like looks off into the distance for a second and looks back at Daedalus and speaks. I don't. I'm sorry.
Daedalus nods. It's unfortunate, but I'm sure there are people gifted enough out there in the divination arts or in remembrance that can perhaps reveal what happened, maybe jog your memory, allow us to see into the past. We will find them once you become a lord. Those kind of things will be easy access to us. Don't you think?
I do.
Tell me, Alastair, if you become Lord of the Vale, what kind of veil would you make?
My perfect veil. That's a good question. Complicated. I wish I could give you the most clear-cut answer, but there are just some variables you can't control, because you can't control the actions of other people. But if I had full say in the matter, a world with no conflict, where people of all races, religions, backgrounds could love one another, be happy. Because sadly, all in this world that I see is sadness, darkness, evil. I just want it to be a little bit better than it was yesterday, you know? You can kind of see a tear forming up in his eye as he speaks this to you. What about you? If you were, let's say, the general of a kingdom, what would that kingdom look like to you?
You see, Daedallus looks down at the table, and he really thinks about what you're asking. You can tell this is something he's thought about before, but he's never quite found the perfect answer himself. He looks back to you. Well, if I was a general, and I had an army, and I could make the world I see fit, it would be a world for people like me and you. It would be a world where tragedies and suffering and indignities that happened to you and to me would never happen again. There would be no sorrow, no pain. The world would understand and see things as one. And I think in that world, the weak, the downtrodden, the ones that life has brung low, they would be championed. They would be protected by the strong. Because the strong would know it is right. And anyone who dares act out against the greater good, to partake in such follies as to hurt others as we were hurt, they would be found and they would be eradicated, them and all they have. Because they're in a world where I have power, a world where I have the control to change things. I would make it so that evil is stamped out for good. So as long as there is evil in this world cannot be perfect. And people will suffer. I don't want to see any more suffering. It is why I do what I do. It is why I've traveled all this way. And it is why I believe that working with you, helping you become a lord again, is worth it. Because I believe that world is possible. But only with the help of other like-minded great individuals. And I think you are like-minded like myself. And I think within you is a great individual. You merely have to see it for yourself. That world that you thought of when I asked you that question, the perfect veil, you said. That world does not have to be just a dream. It can be reality. And I want to make a reality like that. I think that is a world anyone would want, don't you? And Daedallus turns towards you.
I would agree, Daedalus. What if we can forge this world together? Once I prove myself to the Lord's Alliance, we join them. We stop these evil atrocities from happening to people who don't deserve these evil things to happen to them anymore.
You see Daedalus is kind of... You see that he's almost let down a barrier after sharing that with you. You see he's divulged a lot, that was pretty deep what he just shared with you, like a part of him that you don't think he shared with other people before. This is new to Daedalus, having companions, or even one companion in this scenario. I think once you become Lord, I think we can go about making that world. It will take time, and there will need to be others. The two of us, to begin with, are enough to prove your innocence. But to create a new world, a better world, there will need to be others. More of us. Like we had in that thought, there will need to be an army. And if you are a lord with a knight, a general, you will need more than one. I do not know anyone like that. But perhaps, on our way to Waterdeep, on our way to proving your innocence, or through helping these people here, and he gestures out to Fandalin, and the Storm Coast in general, we will find others. Humble beginnings, I think. As that happens, you two kind of share a mutual silence. It's not awkward at all. The two of you are just kind of looking out on the night sky, out upon the now sleeping Fandalin streets. You see Daedalus has tossed the halfling cigarette. He clasps his hands to his knees. I think it's time that we get some rest. In the morning, we'll have to head to the Lion's Caster and get some new armaments. The Maester said that they would be expecting us. And after all that has happened, he gestures at you, and he gestures out to the windmill. I need new armor. That sound like a plan?
Definitely sounds like a plan. Oh, all right. Well, Daedalus and Alastair opens the door back inside and says, "Sleep well." And Alastair walks inside, and he literally just plops on the bed and falls asleep immediately the second he hits the mattress.
Daedalus heads to his twin bed, and he gets some rest for the evening. After a few hours, night becomes morning, and you arise, fully rested and full of energy for the day. You see the sun has just risen. You hear the cawing of crows, the yowls of roosters. You hear a bell from the morning crier. Morning! Ding, ding, ding! Morning! Ding, ding, ding! It's morning! As he walks around the town square, banging his bells. You see Daedalus is already awake, and he's sort of gearing up for the day. You see he's got different clothes on from last evening, but he's only got the sort of like under garments of what he would be wearing if he had his armor on. So it's a very basic, thin white shirt, and he's got his sort of black cloth pants on, and his actual adventuring boots on. He sees that you're awake and he's packing up his bag. Welcome back, he says, as he keeps getting his things ready and throws his rucksack over his shoulder.
Good morning to you, too. Alastair kind of grabs his head as if he's got a headache, kind of packing his things together, getting ready to depart for the day.
Hangover, Daedallus says, acknowledging the headache that you seem to be showing.
A little bit.
Well, we'll have to get over it quickly. Seems that the Maester has told others of us being here. There was a knock this morning from someone asking to speak to the Lord of the Vale.
Alastair sighs upon hearing this title that, one, he doesn't think he deserved, two, nor has. Did they say what they wanted with this? And he does the quotation with his fingers, Lord of the Vale.
You see Daedalus kind of chuckles. Well, they did give a name. They said that once the young lord had arisen, that a man of most a gnome of most excellent and empirical standard wishes to see him at Botfizzles. It appears he needs your help.
All right. So, here's the game plan then. We head to this, something
The
Lion
Lion Shield Castle.
Yes, sorry. Terrible with names. Then we go to the Spotfizzles, and then you say we depart the town, help the Meister with whatever he said he needed help with?
Daedalus kind of shrugs. This works for me. You're going to want to pack your bag, though.
Yep. And Alastair quickly arranges his things, grooms himself a little bit lightly, and is ready to head out the door whenever Daedalus is ready.
As you're grooming yourself, you see Daedalus is doing his grooming, which is just him taking his taloned finger and picking his teeth. As you're, like, brushing your teeth and fixing your hair and brushing it out, you just see him picking his teeth over in the corner. As he's done getting, as you're done getting ready, he kind of gets ready, or gets finished up picking his teeth, really. He's not really doing anything. Stands up from the bed. You both gather your things and you head down outside of the Stonehill Inn. As you walk out to the central sort of courtyard of Fendowen city streets proper, you look to the north and you see the sign for the Lion Shield Caster. You can see a small plume of smoke coming out the chimney. It seems the forge is quite active right now.
Gonna go inside. I'm ready.
As you're walking down this town streets, you see a few vendors have already opened up their stores. Some are selling fish. Some are selling fruits and vegetables. They're farmers from this area or fishermen. You see one man is selling chopped firewood. And you see a couple carriages go by here and there. And as the carriages go by, and the riders and carriage drivers all give Daedalus and Alastair a courteous nod and hello as they pass. Daedalus and you obviously return them. As you make your way over to Lion Shield Castle, you see a navy blue sign with golden trimmings, and it has a very fancy italicized lion's head that says just above it, the Lion's Shield Caster. Doors are already opened, and as you look inside, you can see the forge is already lit with flame, and you can see a large, kind of stocky human man with a beard working the forge, and you see a woman closer to the counterfront standing there with braided blonde hair. You see that she as well is a half-elf. As you and Daedalus enter, she greets you. Ah, hello, kinsman. It is good to see a fellow half-elf here.
Oh, hello.
A dragonborn. Interesting. You must be new here.
Yes, we are. Actually, the Meister sent us here. Said you guys could hook us up, I guess, for helping save the windmill yesterday.
Ah, that was you two. Yes, he said a young man named Alastair Darkheart would be here, and his companion Daedalus. That is you two, I assume.
Yes, it is.
Excellent. Let me ask you, What is it that you need? What all needs rearmed for you? I can tell that you don't have quite the armaments of men who slayed a troll. Daedallus speaks up. I had the armaments of a dragonborn who would slay a troll. But the troll and someone, and he kind of looks over at you,
Smiles.
took care of that armor. She looks at Alastair and she looks at Daedallus. You broke his armor?
It's a little more complicated than that. We kind of both broke it. Wouldn't you say that's fair, Daedalus?
Daedalus kind of nods. We did fall out of a 2-story building that I threw us both out of. Yeah, it was probably a mutual thing. Maybe the troll did all the work, really. He kind of like nods it off, and she kind of chuckles a little bit. Well, either way, whether it was a half-elf or a troll that destroyed your armor, I can make you a new one. Curious as to how you lose armor and he seemingly doesn't wear any. Perhaps you have some sort of magical enchantment.
Me? No, just this, what I'm wearing.
Daedalus kind of looks at you. You know, he's like... You can see it on his face, like, you bitch, you could totally tell her that you use magic on me. you can see that look on him, and he's like, I'm gonna let it slide. I ain't gonna say nothing. She sits there, and she's like, very well. Well, you want new armor. What kind would you like? Daedalus kind of takes a second. Oh, I didn't think we'd get this far. I didn't think I had a choice. I'll be honest. Ever since I was a young dragonborn, I always read the stories, the old folk tales of great knights that wore plate mail. And what is a knight without his plate mail? Could you make this for me? She looks at him. It would be quite the operation given your stature. My husband and I haven't had the pleasure of making a dragonborn armor, but I assume once we get your measurements, we could make it so. Where are my manners? You gave me your names. I did not give you mine. My name is Dahlia, and that is my husband Bertrand. Say hello, Bertrand. And he goes back to hammering whatever he was doing. You see him hammering a really hot, freshly pulled long sword. You see him hammering away at its imperfections. And he waves his hand back. She chuckles. Isn't he delightful? You can see she's being very sarcastic.
Alastair chuckles a little bit hearing her remark.
And what about you, Sir Darkheart? Is there anything you could request? Perhaps you would like something knitted or stitched for you, tailored. We could acquiesce to this.
This outfit that I currently have on, I have a question for you. Are you able to change the color of it? I like the golden filigree, but I just think black is a little too dark. I want something dark, but not black.
He looks at it for a moment. She looks at you. It is... I can see what you're envisioning here. Was this a gift, perhaps, from your father? A hand-me-down?
Yep, definitely was.
I can see. It is a little big in certain areas. You can see where his shoulders filled out this suit a little bit more. But I think I can make the alterations that you request. To dye it this color will take a little bit of help from old Nibbin, but I think we can make it so if we work together. Here. And you see her take out a piece of parchment. She writes something in ink and pen down. Take this note to Nibbin Botfizzle at Botfizzles, and tell him Dahlia sent you, and he will make it so. As for you, Dragonborn, come here for a moment. She kind of motions for the Dragonborn to step towards the side of the counter. Daedalus walks over the side. You can see Dahlia pulls out a tape measure, and she starts taking measurements of Daedalus' arms, of his legs, of his shoulders, of his chest, his midriff, his hips, his height. And about 5 minutes of measurements go by. She takes a second. It will take some time, but give my husband and I about 3 or 4 days, and we could have this ready for you. We already have some pieces made that would merely need to be bent and worked into certain shapes to fit you, but 3 to 4 days is what it will take. Does this sound fine to you, Dragonborn? Daedalus looks at her. He nods. This is fine with me. Beggars cannot be choosers. I do have one question. She takes a moment. Could you sharpen this blade? And you see Daedalus unsheaths the sickle that you are all too familiar with. The one that cut your gut. You kind of remember that pain, as seeing the sickle kind of gives you a bit of that flashback to that memory. He hands the sickle to her. Ah, yes. Bertrand will make quick work of this. And what about you, Alastair? Could I have my husband sharpen your blade as well?
Absolutely. Alastair hands over his obsidian rapier over. And another
As she
question,
takes it. Oh, sorry.
if
Go
you
ahead.
don't mind.
Mhm.
The garment I handed you, do you mind potentially studying it to maybe make it a little more suited for someone going out in the wilderness and adventuring?
It will add some time to the crafting, but I think I can do this. Why don't you come back when your dragonborn friend here, Daedalus, when his armor is done in 3 to 4 days, you return, and I should have this studded for you. I think we can add some padded leather here, and you see her kind of grab at the shoulders where like pauldrons would sit. You see her kind of rub at the forearms, and here, and here. And I think over here and here, and she points at different parts of your chest, I could put a few studs here and there to perhaps absorb some impacts. I think I could do this. Yes. Does this sound like a feasible plan to the two of you?
Alastair's
She
already
smiles.
taking his cloak off, and all he's wearing underneath is a long-sleeved black shirt made of simple cotton, and he hands her the cloak. Sounds good to me. Thank you so much.
She takes his stuff and then kind of goes to take stuff from Daedalus, and she goes, oh, yes, you don't have any. And Daedalus goes, well, I have the remnants of it in this sack. And he opens up his knapsack and just dumps it in the chunks of leftover plates and chainmail just scatter across the countertop. Well, I suppose these could be used in helping to make the next set. And she kind of just scrapes it off the table into a garbage bin. Daedalus stands there, she dumps it in the garbage. You could have waited until I left to do that. You could have waited. She looks at him. I'll be honest with you, Daedalus it was, yes. Your armor was, I will say, subhuman in its quality. Subhuman, he says. What the hell does that mean? It means that a goblin could have made it. Well, whatever you make me, it better look like a half-elf or whatever he is would have made it. Of course. Don't forget, Mr. Nibbenbotfizzle wants to see you, Alastair. And don't forget to take him that note so that he can dye your garments.
Yes, of course. All right, Daedalus, you ready to go?
You see Daedalus is kind of squinting at the woman in like almost a playful way, but he's kind of squinting at her. 3 to 4 days, right? And she says, 3 to 4 days, Daedalus. Very well. And he looks at Alastair. All right, let's go. The two of you leave the Lion Shield Coster. You cross the street. About a block down, you see a purple-hued sign. It's made out of some kind of not quite metal. It looks like a synthetic material. You see a very fancy golden elixir that's bubbling actively. It's like a neon light sign, and it's bubbling and protruding a little bit of smoke, and it says Botfizzle's Elixirs and Magical Emporium. Daedalus stands there and observes the sign. He looks at the front, and you can see all sorts of potions just stacked up on these big shelves that kind of block the view of inside the shop. It's like these huge rows and rows and rows of potions and bottles and elixirs just right there at the windows for people to look at. They all have different names and descriptions: potion of health, potion of vitality, potions of lust, potions of love, all sorts of things. You see Daedalus is looking at them. He kind of looks over to Alastair. Are you sure this guy isn't a snake oil salesman?
Might be, but who knows?
Daedalus sighs. Very well. Let's go see this botfizzle. And he opens the door. And as Daedalus opens the door, a puff of purple-clouded smoke comes permeating out in lavender that assaults the senses, permeates throughout your nose. Daedalus calls, what in Bahamut's name is that? It's called lavender. Who said that? Down here. Daedalus looks down. Alastair, you look down. And you see standing about 2.5 feet tall, you see a small gnomish man in a purple robe with slicked back red hair and at the very front of this slicked back red hair, you see a curly, sort of Superman-like cowlick at the front. He's got a not quite too elongated nose, but a bit of an elongated nose, a dashing grin, and freckles on his face, pointed ears. You see a gnomish man. Name's Nibbin Botfizzle. A pleasure to meet you. And he sticks his hand out to Alastair.
Hello, Nibbin Botfizzle. I am Alastair Darkheart. I heard you were looking for me.
Yes, I was. Nibbin Botfizzle. And then Daedalus reaches out his taloned golden hand and shakes Nibbin's hand. Ah, a strong grip you have there, Dragonborn. Yes, young Darkheart. I sent for you. I was coming to find you in the morning. The Maester said the Lord of the Vale was here.
But please, I am not the Lord of the Vale.
You see the gnome his eyes widen for a second. Oh, forgive me. I did not mean to offend you.
No, it's fine. I just don't think I deserve such a title. Too young, and to be honest, Darkvale is not even run by my family anymore at this time, so...
Well, former Lord of the Vale, perhaps.
Never Lord of the Vale, I think sounds a little better, don't you think?
Nibbin kind of nods. Forgive me. You see him kind of wince away. I mean no offense.
It's fine. I'm just giving you a hard time, Nibbin. I do this to people that I like.
Oh. I like being nice to people I like. Not that you're not being nice, you're just playing hard to get, if you get what I mean. And he kind of slaps at your leg because he can't slap your shoulder. Anyways, he goes, what are you two big fellas doing here? I mean, what are you doing in the town? I'm curious. What brings you here?
Headed to Waterdeep.
Headed to Waterdeep. Headed to Waterdeep. Come with me. And he starts kind of strolling towards the counter. Oh, I hate, and it's taking him forever because he's got little feet. I hate walking like this. Uncilio. And he claps his hands together. And you hear Daedalus, Uncilio, what the hell? And you see a purple lavender cushion go spinning through the air and comes flying over to in front of Nibbin. Nibbin sits down on the cushion and claps again. And the cushion lifts into the air and starts propelling him towards the counter, picking up his pace to match Daedalus and Alastair's. This is much better. Fit for a man of my dignity. Now, as he sits onto the counter, literally the cushion lands on the counter, and you see all these potions and bottles all over the place and different steaming liquids coming out of all these different alchemical tubes and potions and racks. And he looks at you. I heard from the Maester and a few of the townsfolk that the two of you defeated that troll that was attacking the mill.
Correct.
Well, we are in your debt. Lady Adabra is a treasure in this town, and I must give you my thanks. You see immediately Nibbin reaches underneath the counter, and you see him pull out 2 small beakers and place them in front of Daedallus and Alastair. Before you is 2 elixirs. One, an elixir of giant strength, stone giant strength, that is. And the other, an elixir, not potion, elixir, an elixir of invisibility. Take your pick of which you want. You both can have either one you wish, but you must choose. There are only 2, and only 2 of you. Daedalus looks at Alastair, and you see him instinctively kind of reach for the strength one, because he knows you want that invisibility one.
Mm-hmm. Alastair goes right for the potion of invisibility.
You both grab your potions, your elixirs, place them into your knapsacks. Nibbin begins to inform you. Now, these elixirs are a little stronger than your standard potions. A potion of stone giant strength will only last you until you take a rest, maybe an hour or 2 long. This, however, an elixir will last you until you take a long rest, until you take your rest for the evening. So until you get a good 8 hours sleep in, you're going to have strength of a giant, and you're going to be invisible. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
What'd you say, Zach? You cut off for a second.
No, Alastair says, sounds great.
Daedalus nods. Excellent. Very good, very good. Well, now that these gifts find you in good spirits, I have a request to make. And you hear Daedalus sigh. Not again. More request. Oh, please, please, Golden One, don't leave. You see Daedalus goes to turn around. Please, Golden One, don't leave. As he reaches out, Daedalus stops because he tugs on his sleeve. We're trying to go to Waterdeep. We don't have time. Nibbin, we don't have time. Tell him, Alastair, we don't have time. Nibbin looks at you and then he grabs your sleeve. Please, young Darkheart, please hear me.
Alastair looks at Nibbin and then looks at Daedalus and begins
Nibbin's eyes get real big and they get watery.
Daedalus, I'm not gonna lie. If we want to achieve our goals like we discussed, the more friends we can make, the better. I say we hear him out.
I assure you, Daedalus, I can make a powerful ally. Daedalus stops for you see him look up at the sky. Gods help me. All right, Botfizzle. Lay it on us. Lay what on you? Oh, you mean the favor. Yes. I need the 2 of you to go on that quest for the Maester. I know he spoke to you about the excavation. I'm funding the excavation. And I would be in your debt if you go and see what's going on.
Alastair looks at Daedalus. I mean, technically it's a request we've already gotten. We might as well do it, right?
Daedalus looks at you. He knows what you're doing. You're trying to lead him into agreeing on this. You really want him to agree. Daedalus looks at you. Before we agree to anything, let me ask you this, Botfizzle. What do you mean by funding this expedition? Were you funding it properly? Were you underfunding it? You get what I'm saying? This is your one chance to be honest and convince me to go. Daedalus is going to roll persuasion to try to get more information out of Cornelius. Or not Cornelius, Nibbin. Oh! That is a 5. It's a low check, but he still didn't pass, so Nibbin's going to kind of... Well, I funded it appropriately, I assure you. I assure you I did. The most funding, I would say, ever a quest of this magnitude had. That being said, a personal friend of mine is on said endeavor. His name is Cornelius Basilswitz. He is a man of many renown, many traits. many skills. I sent him on this. We discovered a temple not that far from here. Some miners were exploring the Storm Mountains when they found this sort of impression on the mountainside. They worked hard day and night until eventually a temple that had long been sealed was revealed. I had gained permission from the Maester to send a team in to investigate and maybe find a few magical artifacts that could help us against the dragon that I don't know has come to the Storm Coast. And I sent my friend Cornelius. Other than that, I mean, the fact that I haven't heard from him in, about a fortnight at this point is a little alarming, and, the temple was indeed probably trapped, I would say. So between the traps and the dragon, I'm most concerned for my friend's fate. If you could go to the temple, find Cornelius, bring him back here, preferably alive, he says. Preferably alive. Bring him back if he's dead anyways, but preferably alive, if you can help that. And not only will you get the Maester's reward, but you will have mine. You will have my gratitude. And I am a man of many connections. You see, this Spotfizzle's Emporium around you, this is one of multiple, he says, and he smiles. I have one in the city of Waterdeep. The two of you say you need to go there. I have many, many different shippings, comings and goings and receiving. I could arrange for the two of you to be transported to Waterdeep free of charge. Rather quickly, of course.
You see, now
You
that's
see a
enticing.
devious little grin on Nibbin. Sorry, what was that? I'm sorry, Zach. I didn't mean to cut you off again.
No, you're fine. That sounds extremely enticing. Alistair's gonna kind of like read his body language as he sees this grin.
Okay.
What kind of grin is this? Is basically the
A
insight.
devious little grin.
But what
Like,
are
not
the...
evil devious, but like a funny little devious. Like, I could definitely be of help to you, but you have to
Okay.
help me fast.
Okay. I was like, do I gotta roll
And
insight?
as you roll the insight, and you can tell it's literally Nibbin kind of he's grinning because he knows he's got you hook, line, and sinker now that you heard that part, that you heard he could get you to Waterdeep. And he sees the expression on you, and you see the expression on him, and he's like, it could be a symbiotic relationship. I mean, really, what do you have to lose? You want to go to Waterdeep anyways. You get to help someone, save them, and I could give you more potions and get you to Waterdeep free of charge. I mean, really, why not help me? I mean, just look at me. I couldn't possibly go out there with the dragon and find Cornelius, but the two of you slayed a troll. You can hold your own, right? Right? He says. Daedallus kind of scoffs. He's sending us on a suicide mission. It's not suicide, I promise you, Daedallus, please. Cornelius may be in danger. Think. Alastair said it is an enticing offer. How much more enticing could it be? Daedalus looks at Cornelius long and hard. Kind of leans in. You promise you can get us into Waterdeep? No hiccups. No hiccups, I promise. No hiccups. None at all. None at all. What do you think, Alastair? It's up to you.
He seems like a man of his word. I say we help him. Because one, we get technically a reward from him, and two, a reward from the Meister. So that'll help us fund to get particular assets to help us in the future.
Daedalus nods. And he turns his gaze back to Nibbin. Well, you heard Alastair, we'll do it. Oh, yippee! Yes! Goody, 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 goody. You see him clap his hands together. Ah, Cornelius. You can't be mad at me now. See? Everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. He won't be mad at all. He won't be mad at all. He might be a little mad. He went in there. He didn't. I did not tell him that place was trapped at all. I will be honest with you. You see him being kind of candid now that we've already agreed to go and help him. Oh, by the way, the fact that you said yes, it's kind of magically binding. You have to go do it now. Yeah. He kind of like nods.
That I really don't appreciate, Niven. That I don't appreciate.
Nibbin laughs. I'm just jesting. There's no magically binding contracts here, unless you want there to be one. You see him pull out a piece of paper.
Alastair's staring him down.
He wants to.
I hate to interrupt you, but I kind of want to make another insight check.
Go for it.
Alastair does not like the fact that he might have to be legally bound to do this now. 13.
You're not actually legally bound. He's being serious when he says you're not legally bound, but he can make it so. And that's why he pulls out the paper. He's looking, I can make it so, though.
Alastair breathes a sigh of relief and waves his hand. Would prefer not.
You hear Daedallus kind of chuckle. Pact magic is something we, don't need to see any of. Cornelius chuckles. Very well. Well, since you did agree to go save Cornelius for me, here's this, and he pulls out a little sort of pin. He says, show me your map. And as Daedalus unfurls his map, he gives a little ding. Oh wait, no, Daedalus doesn't have a map. It got ruined in the fight with everything else.
Can we buy one?
You don't have a map. We'll go back. Edit this in post, Zach. I'm saying this now so you hear it in post. Edit this in post. We go back. Nibbin looks at you. Now, the excavation site, he says he has a map himself. You see him pull out a small map. Is right here. And he points right on a side of the mountain chain that's nearest to Findown. See him point to a small cliffside near one of the mountains. At the base of this cliffside, you will see it. It's marked. You can't miss it. Torch sconces, magical wards. There'll be light from the place. You'll see it. But take this map. It will be marked. Now, this is only a map of Fendalin, and it only goes out so far, so once you leave the jurisdiction of this map, directions up to you.
Okay. Well, thank you for the map, Nibbin.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Of course. I am but your humble servant. And he puts his hands supplicatingly up forward, and then he opens one eye. Is that good?
Yes?
Nibbin kind of nods. You still got it, Nibbin. You still got it. Alright, well, I have work to do, potions to make, elixirs. Do the two of you want to shop? Perhaps buy something? And you see him kind of raise an eyebrow.
Actually, I do. Dahlia sent me here. He hands her the piece of paper that Dahlia gave him. Sent me here for something.
Oh,
I'm not
Dahlia.
sure what it was.
Oh. How is she? She's doing well, I assume, and her husband, he's doing bad.
Bah, exactly. Yep.
Excellent. All is well in the world. Let me see this note. You see him pull out from his pocket it almost looks like a monocle, but you see as he pulls out the one monocle, that monocle shoots out another monocle within a monocle within a monocle, and it stretches out to almost like a telescope length, and it's magnifying in on the note from 6 inches away. You see the one in the eye that's using this monocle is now enlarged thanks to these layered monocle. I'll call it the monocle now. So you see him reading the note. Oh, yes, okay, you wish to have your garments changed. Oh. For free. Well, you are helping me. You helping the maester, so I think I could do for free. Very well. I will have the garments dyed once she's made her alterations to them. But what are the two of you going to wear in the meantime, I wonder? And then you see the monocle recedes and kind of compresses, and he puts it back in his pocket. What will the two of you do if you face danger without any armor? I wonder. If only there was someone in this town who could possibly give you a scroll of mage armor or something. You see Cornelius looking around up at the sky.
You mean Nibbin?
Daedallus looks at you, and as you mean Nibbin, Nibbin goes, "Me? Well, of course I have that kind of thing. What an excellent idea, Alastair." He reaches behind the counter. You see him pull out 2 scrolls of mage armor. "And it just so happens I have 2 of them. Who would have thought? Now, perhaps... You have experience in spellcasting, Alastair?"
I do.
"Very well. And what about you, Daedalus? Do you have any experience in spellcasting?" Daedalus looks at him, and you see him kind of have this expression of absolutely not, and you see him look at him. "The closest thing to experience with magic I have is being hit by a fireball or 2 in my time." "Oh, very well. Well, casting a spell from a scroll is rather simple. I'm sure Alastair will take the time to explain it to you later. What about you take the time right now?" "I do not have the time for that, Daedalus. I do not. I'm a very busy gnome, as you can tell. And I don't make money giving things away to friends like yourselves." "But seriously, though, I am busy. You can have these scrolls for free, but this is the last I give you of free stuff until you go save my friend Cornelius. Do we have an understanding?"
We do.
Daedalus nods. "Very good. Do you wish to have any potions or elixirs perhaps concocted for you? It will cost you, of course."
Give us some time to scour some gold, and we'll definitely give you some business, Nibbin.
"Very well. In that case, gentlemen, I say good day. And Celio," and he claps his hands as the cushion raises up again, and you see it twirls him off and takes him to one of the nearby alchemy stations where he begins pouring all sorts of chemicals and materials together. Daedalus looks at you, looks over at Nibbin, and kind of leans towards and whispers to you, covering his mouth, and he leans in. "I think that gnome is a little bit fucking eccentric, if you get what I mean."
I don't think I'm catching on. He was definitely eccentric, like, by the book.
"No, I mean he's kind of fucking insane. He sends his friend into a wrapped temple that's been sealed in a mountainside. Who knows what's in there?"
That's true.
"Now he's sending us in there after his friend."
And giving us free shit.
You see Daedalus nods. "I do like free shit." "Very well. What else did we have to go do? We already went to the Lion Shield. We came here. Didn't you say something about, visiting the Shrine of Luck?"
Ah, yes. I think it would be good to hit that before we depart town. But while we walk over there, Alastair's gonna ask Daedalus a question.
Okay.
Daedalus, I've been a little out of touch with the outside world for quite some time. Could you tell me a little bit about the city of Waterdeep and what it's currently like? Maybe you would have some sort of idea.
Well, in the short time I did spend there, the city streets are quite packed, quite busy. It is one of the largest cities in all of Faerun, and it is densely packed and populated. Many different districts and areas, the Grey Ward, the River Ward, the Docks. Many different places people can be lost in very quickly. And people like myself can find work. It was there in Waterdeep where I'm looking for the words. I'm trying not to use the same descriptive terms over and over. Forgive me.
You're fine.
It was there in Waterdeep, amongst the city streets, amongst the crowds of people, that I noticed a few things. That the Lord's Alliance, one, was indeed a heavy presence within its walls. Guards, constables, patrolmen, watchmen, griffins with riders flying across the skies. It is indeed a city of incredible size and even more incredible wonders. A statue standing hundreds of feet tall lies dormant. It was once living. There is another statue in the city similar in height, and it as well stands hundreds of feet tall. It was once living. Apparently, at one time, these beings walked around and created some form of calamity in the city. I do not know. But the Lord's Alliance is indeed alive and well there, and the city of Waterdeep is indeed bustling and thriving. But beneath the surface there are insufferables. There are indesirables. The Thieves Guild, the Zentarim, a manner of things. But it is a place that we can get around without being noticed in, that is for sure.
Interesting. What about the ruling class, the people who make decisions on, well, to be quite blunt, judgment? Because let's be honest, that's something I'm going to have to confront at some point. I might as well start preparing now.
It is always good to be prepared. So, let's make our way to the Shrine of Luck. As the two of you make your way there, you see that Lady Adabra has indeed, I would say, sort of cleansed herself of the battle wounds that she suffered during the troll's attack. She's cleaned up quite nicely. You see that she's wearing the robes of a Priestess of Luck. You see the many different symbols and heraldries of the Lady of Luck all over. Lady Adabra sees the two of you approach this shrine. The shrine itself is rather simple. You see a wishing well, or fountain, with a golden lady spewing water forth from a large sort of, what's the word? What are the water, not a flask, but it is a flask maybe. It's like a silk flask. That's what I'll use. You see her pouring water forth from a silk flask of the statue, and you see all these different littered coins at the bottom of this well, and the coins kind of perpetually move in a circular clockwise motion along with the water. The water itself kind of glimmers and has like a faint sprinkle of light to it. As you approach, you see Lady Adabra is looking upon the waters. She's not praying or anything, she's just looking deep into them. As we approach, it seems that she knows our presence. She does not turn to face us. Ah, Alastair, Daedallus, welcome. After she speaks, she turns her head and smiles.
Hello. It's good to see you again. As Alastair stands over the shrine.
Nice to see you in good health, Lady Adabra. Yes, I'm faring much better today. It is good to see both of you as well. Well, I suppose the two of you have come here because I asked you to be here.
You'd be correct on that assumption, Lady Adabra.
I wanted to thank you more properly, other than just giving you those tokens of luck. I wanted to give you a personal thank you for saving me from the attack yesterday. And she reaches her hand out for a shake. She shakes Daedalus' hand, and then she reaches out for Alastair's.
He returns the handshake.
I mentioned to the two of you that I had a vision, correct?
Alastair nods.
Daedalus nods as well in agreement. I saw the two of you coming here to Fandalin. Only brief glimpses, but this vision has stayed clear in my mind for many weeks. A warrior drenched in gold, and another cloaked in shadow. They would come here and save us from icy winds of death. I saw the fort. I saw the men, the attack. And I saw one of Fendalin's own, the lone survivor. I asked you to come here because when the two of you have a chance, I would like you to go and speak to this lone survivor. His name is Aelin Kazan. He was once the captain of the watch at the fort at Icefire Peak. He is a proud man, a good man. But he is broken from the events of what happened. He lost all of his men and his fort. His family is here with him, but he has changed. He has shut himself in his house and refuses to leave. I believe that the two of you may be able to convince him to help. The captain of the watch is the perfect person to maybe assemble a militia here, lead the people of the town in some form of defense. You two are travelers here on a chance and on a whim. There's no certainty you stay and there's no certainty you go, but Aelin lives here and we need him. He's been shot in his home for weeks. His wife and his children cannot get him to leave. All I ask is that when the two of you have the time, go and speak with him. In my visions, I saw the two of you. But you weren't alone. There were others who came to your aid, others who attacked the fort and helped you make your way to the dragon. Aelin was amongst them. I think he could be of great aid, and I think his part in this story of the dragon is not over. Could you do this when you have the chance?
We will. Once we arrive back from where we're heading, it shouldn't take too long. We'll go speak with Aelin Kazan.
She nods. May the Lady of Luck shine upon you both then. I wish you the best of fates. Now go.
Alastair flips a copper coin down into the well and walks away.
Daedallus gives a slight bow to Lady Adabra. Until we meet again, my lady. And he turns around and follows Alastair. And with that, that will be the end of our session for this episode.